I'm Greg Baer. These conversations about parenting are powerful and practical, life-changing. In this podcast, I'm going to share a beautiful story about a mother and her daughter. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons so that you'll be notified when new podcasts are available. For a while, I loved and taught a mother of several kids. She had never in her life been unconditionally loved. So she did not know how to unconditionally love her children. Mom did very well at feeling loved, but her 13-year-old daughter, Kristin, was becoming increasingly selfish, always whining about what she didn't get, how she didn't want to do her chores, how she wanted to stay on the phone, the kind of stuff that parents of teenagers are used to hearing all day. There was nothing overtly rebellious, just a persistent selfishness, which can become very dangerous. Me. So common in a world of entitlement and victimhood that we don't even notice it anymore. So we dismiss it and it gets worse. If we all allow selfishness to continue to grow, it becomes a huge problem with relationships, with jobs, with everything in life. Simply put, selfishness is dangerous, even emotionally deadly. Mom watched the parenting training and she was eager to implement what she was learning. She learned from the stories, she learned from the principles, she felt loved herself. But then when she began to work with Kristin, she did far more teaching than loving. She kind of left out the loving part because, understandably, she didn't quite feel enough love in her own life to share it sufficiently with her daughter. So her delivery of the teachings tended to be a little hard-edged, a little cold, and Kristin didn't like it. Surprise. Kristin was not learning because the delivery was just really bothering her. So I volunteered to talk to Kristin by Zoom. As I talk to her here, keep in mind that she's heard a lot of the principles of real love. So she understands that when I talk about love, for example, I'm talking about unconditional love. As a little kid, you were not loved. You understand that?
Kind of. Not completely.
You tell me how you were not loved as a kid.
Um, my dad ignored me and um he wouldn't pick me up when I reached up.
Hmm. The first thing she says is that Dad didn't pick her up. That sounds so innocent. It's really not. It's a really common thing that I do when I begin to work with an adult. And I say, what was it like when you were, say, 8 years old and your parent, whoever, in this case we'll pick Dad, you're sitting on the floor and your dad comes home from work. What's the first thing that happens when he sees you on the floor? And a very common answer, usually accompanied by tears, is, well, he walks on by and goes to the kitchen or the whatever. And I say, so did he interact with you when he came in the house, on average? No. One time a woman told me that her father was loving and warm. And I said, so let's carry this a little further. Your dad walks in the house, and as he goes by you, what does he do? And she said, nothing. I said, what did you do? She said, I lifted, she didn't speak. She just lifted her hands up, like a little child does for a parent to pick them up. And as she lifted her hands up and she pictured him in her mind the hundreds of times that he walked on by, she just burst into tears. She let out a lifetime of pain in that moment. Well, maybe not the entire lifetime. She wasn't picked up. And you might think, well, so what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. There's nothing a child wants more than, well, the unconditional love of a parent. But if they can't give that, at least the attention of a parent. And for a parent to walk by a child and not pick them up, and children universally in the beginning ask to be picked up, It's devastating because the message is, I don't care enough about you to pick you up. In fact, in most cases, I don't care enough about you to look at you. And look how Kristin reacted to recalling that her father didn't pick her up. Instant tears, so much pain in her heart. Take your time, honey. I'm not in a hurry.
And my older siblings thought I was annoying because I always like got like my mom's attention, and then when I yelled out, like, because like sometimes they'd like like sometimes I'd be like, Mom, like they did something, like sometimes they'd stuff me under a pillow so I would yell out,
And then Mom did what?
she yelled at them, but like it wasn't really like I didn't feel like loved. Like all she'd do is yell at them, and then they'd be mad, and then it just kept on going over and over, you know? Like it never was like fixed with like, well, what's the root problem of this or whatever. And so they'd get in fights and stuff, and then it was just scary. And I remember one time kind of nowhere like in a fight. It was actually like physical. They would like try to like, yeah. And so like one time I ran into Papa's room and I started crying, and I told him they were fighting, and he didn't do anything. He's like, oh, they'll sort it out or something, and he kept on working on his computer. And like, of course that's not loving. It's not good.
Every kid needs safety. Yes, they need unconditional love. That's like the highest. But before love can be felt, a child has to, at the very least, feel safe, not under threat. A soldier on the front lines wants to succeed in accomplishing their military goal, but a soldier will take safety over everything else. Not being shot at, not being killed, not being wounded, not having his buddy next to him blown up. Children are the same. They need safety. And here, her siblings pushed her around, physically shoved her around, which feels just out of control, feels helpless. And she was the youngest, and they stuffed her under pillows, which was terrifying. Most of the time in her family, she wasn't even directly involved in the conflict, but the tension and the chaos around her, the smell of it was oppressive. It was threatening and violent, very much like the shelling of soldiers during battle. Whether they're actually being wounded or not, there's the constant threat of a potential shell or a potential bullet taking their head off. Just the threat of violence is enough to cause PTSD in battle, and it's enough to cause PCSD, post-childhood stress disorder, in children. And so what does this child do when she doesn't feel safe? She looks for safety. She runs to her dad, who she calls Papa, for protection, and he's useless. He does nothing to stop the chaos or the bullying. Profoundly disappointing to this child. So when you were born into the world, what you wanted more than anything else was for somebody to pick you up and hold you and kiss you and squeeze you and keep you safe. Didn't you? Kids cannot analyze the past on their own. She needed help identifying how she felt unsafe. She'd been feeling unsafe for so long, she needed to have it labeled. Look at her face. She's crying because now she does feel understood and safe. It's an indescribable relief to her, like, finally, unbelievably great to feel seen. If we don't feel seen, we feel invisible. And in this moment, she felt understood and seen. Take your time, honey. Your father didn't give a shit about you. Do you understand that? You can just nod. None. He still doesn't. There we go. He still doesn't. And I will defend him. I don't think it's his fault. Nobody ever loved him. But as a little kid, you don't care about that. All you know is, did he love you? No. Did he love you at all? No. He still doesn't. Which is why some of the things he does are so annoying to you. And then your siblings would quarrel and fight. And honey, when you're years younger, that's like living in a world war. It just feels chaotic and loud and unsafe and scary and really, truly terrible. Hear me? Look at that face. She's feeling seen, cared for, not invisible. What you hoped would happen, maybe not out loud, was that somebody would come along and stop that and make you feel safe. And you would go into your father's room and he would just go, I don't care. He didn't say those words, he just didn't do anything. Then your mom would hear you if if you could speak stuffed under the pillows, and she'd come in and yell at them, but she sure didn't stop it long term. She only stopped it for a few minutes. And then she didn't pick you up and kiss you and hold you and rub your back and say, honey, I love you, and that will never happen again, did she? Again, the face. She feels seen. It's a lifelong desire that we all have. And I see this face all day, every day from people who just radiate a feeling of relief and satisfaction and joy at feeling seen. Mom was never overtly abusive to this girl, but this little girl needed to be protected, and she wasn't. She needed to feel seen, but she wasn't. It is so common that one parent is described as loving. This girl in the past would have described her mother as loving and her father as less loving. But it's very common that that's not true, that the parent who is described as loving is simply less overtly hurtful, which was the case with mom. She felt seen, accepted, and loved by neither parent. And that's all you wanted. Is this making sense to you? So, your dad completely let you down. Your siblings just attacked you and hurt you. Your mom let you down. She's learned a little more about loving you, but it's not been enough. Certainly, she hasn't had a conversation like this with you. I wish there were a better word, honey, but you've been just screwed. Are you hearing me yet? For all that matters for you as a little kid is that you felt unsafe all day long. Because either there was fighting, or it turns out that soldiers in battle suffer equally from hearing gunfire and the spaces between gunfire. Do you understand? So watch. You flinch from the gunfire, but when the gunfire is intermittent, the soldiers just sit there on edge waiting for the next shot. That's how you lived. It was awful, awful. It was way more horrible than you've ever understood. I have no interest here in convincing Kristin that she's a victim. Not at all. People don't need to be sold on their victimhood. She simply needs to understand the extent of her trauma so she can understand her pain and her reactions to pain, which in her case has been to think only of herself. She has been mystified at her mother telling her that she behaves selfishly, just going, I don't understand what you mean by selfish. And then once she did get it, she felt bad about herself. She needs to see here, as I'm explaining to her, that selfishness is just a reaction to pain. Then it becomes understandable instead of an accusation. So if the entire world lets you down, which it did, mother, father, siblings, you were screwed. If the whole world lets you down, what are you going to focus on?
Me?
Yeah. If nobody else will take care of you, well, then who's going to? You. So you focused on you because you're the only person who does. So when I say, honey, you focus on yourself, that's another word for selfish. But you focus on yourself only because nobody else has. So, of course, you have. I'm defending you. I'm defending your selfishness. Do you hear me? Defending. And then saying, and you can't keep doing it because it'll kill you. Look at this smile of pure relief. I just told her she was selfish. You wouldn't think that would be like a compliment. And I told her it would kill her if she didn't stop it. But she's smiling because before I labeled her behavior so directly, I explained that it was only a reaction to pain. I helped her see that she was wounded, not bad. That's something we can live with. Wounded? Okay, I can do that. Being told I'm bad is intolerable, as it is to everyone. Her feeling is relief and hope. You can see it on her face. You can hear it in her voice. Hearing me now?
That's funny.
What?
That was just the way you said it. You're um, like all this bad stuff happened to you, and um, and you're selfish, but you can't keep doing it. So this is funny. You're right.
So now Kristin sees her behavior as funny, as ridiculously incompatible with her happiness, instead of seeing herself as bad. Like, wow, what a change in perspective in just a few minutes. And this is what our children need. It's what we as parents need. We need to be understood. We need to see our supposedly bad behaviors as just protecting ourselves and then eventually as ridiculous. But we don't need to see ourselves as bad. But there's no accusation in it. Do you see?
It's just truth.
It's just the truth, honey. So this is the first time ever in your life that you've understood all this well. Well, that's a pretty big moment.
Yeah.
Why am I talking to you?
To help me understand where my selfishness comes from and why I can change it.
A little. What's the real reason I'm talking to you? What? Uh-huh. Because I love you. Honey, I've got other things to do today. Because I don't talk to anybody on Saturday. But here I am talking to you. because I love you and because you matter to me.
Why?
That's a really good question. So the real question is, why do you matter to me?
Yeah.
So listen closely. I don't know the whole reason, but it's not because of something you did. It's not because you earned it. It's because somehow I just feel you, honey. So listen slow. I feel you for reasons I don't entirely know. You matter to me.
That's a good reason.
Pretty good reason. If you tell someone you love them, the first thought in their head, almost universally, and often the first word out of their mouth is, why? Why do you love me? And if you give them reasons, you're so clever, beautiful, smart, helpful. If you give them reasons, it might sound good. But see, now they have to continue being or doing those things in order to earn your love. Look at the expression on this kid's face. She's tickled because she got the point that I don't have a reason for loving her, which means there's nothing she has to do to keep it. How very cool is this? So just sit and feel this for a minute. We're not in a hurry. Just feel me. Feel me. I'm loving you because I choose to. Pretty fun. Notice that she vigorously nods her head. She has never been loved without a reason, a justification. It frees her, and she loves it. And if you want to feel it even more, there's only one thing you would need to do. Just believe me. Trust me. Believe me that I mean it. That's not too difficult. Several times as I've been speaking to you, you could feel me love you. You may not even remember them all. It doesn't matter. You can feel me love you. In one conversation, this 13-year-old kid changed from afraid and alone to connected and hopeful. That is no small power that is found in love. In all this conversation, I was not saying that in any way was I better than mom. It was just that mom was not prepared to give her child what she needed. And in the teen years, there's not a lot of time to waste. Mom just needed help. Imagine that your child needed surgery. No matter how much you want to help your child, you get a surgeon who's prepared way longer to do that particular function. In most cases, though, you can learn to love and teach your child. It's just that in some instances, like with this child, she needed a little intervention from somebody who was just more experienced. It was more helpful to her. After this conversation with Kristin, we talked, Kristin and I, every morning before school. Mom said that within 2 days, Kristin began to sing in the shower loudly, which she had not done for a very long time. She became much happier and much more grateful and giving rather than selfish. 2 days. A month later, Mom wrote this, quote, "For some time now, Kristin has been helpful around the house without being asked. Unloading groceries, offering to make sandwiches for people, stuff like that. She's been taking directions about doing things without complaint. I haven't needed to call her out about pulling that complaining, selfish face of hers. I went to a parent-teacher conference for her today, and her teacher was full of praise for her. So I asked her how she was doing, and she said, I think I'm doing good. When I feel loved, I don't need to do those selfish things. Astonishing. Proving again that we act selfishly only when we don't feel loved and we're in pain. Mom finishes by saying, I can't believe the change in my daughter. It's a bit miraculous. It was all about real love the whole time. It was always about love. We can all learn to do this. Go to realloveparents.com and learn how.